Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shooting the Shit with Johnny and Smith. I'm Johnny.
And I'm Smith, and today we're talking about Total War Three Kingdoms.
Total War is a strategy game, sort of similar to Risk, actually, as you try to take over the map and beat your opponents and take over effectively. Well, normally it's the whole world. In Three Kingdoms, it is China. My experience with the Total War games it's very long. I've been with them since Total War Rome, the original. Smith, what's your experience with the game?
This one.
Just this one, all right.
I haven't played the others at all.
This one is actually, in my opinion, this one is a very, very, very good one to start off on. It looks overwhelming, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Just watching a video of it, you just think, this is too much, you turn it off.
Exactly. How many strategy games have let's say, do you feel that you are experienced in general with strategy games or not? Just in general.
Experience, like Age of Empires, Settlers, Command and Conquer, Battle for Middle-earth. 10, 15 years ago, I played all of them. Not so much since then, because they've just it's the same old shit, or they try and change stuff. So recently, not very much, but I'm quite confident with the older strategy types.
All right, so being that you've never played one before, things of that nature, how difficult did you... Now, you had me, obviously, which helped a ton, but how difficult did you think it would be if I wasn't there helping you out? How bad for a new player coming in do you think it would be?
I think the combat mechanics are relatively straightforward. It's a rock, paper, scissors thing, especially in the early difficulties when they're not really challenging you.
Yeah.
The overworld stuff, the economics, the trade, the diplomacy. I don't know if there's a tutorial, because obviously I just dive straight into multiplayer with you, but just bear as it is very overwhelming.
Yeah, there is...
A new player would struggle.
Yeah, there is a... Basically, it's an advice person that will pop up in the corner, and you can set up like low, medium, or high advice. And if you were playing solo, that it doesn't apply in multiplayer, but if you're playing solo, basically she'll pop up and be like, oh, hey, you should probably build a farm. You should probably build this to help your farm, things like that. And maybe, you shouldn't attack this guy. So playing single player, I don't think it's nearly as fun, but it is a very good tutorial, at least that much. I think I played single player for probably about an hour, and then me and my cousins played. I don't play this game single player. I don't think it's nearly as fun, but I play it with Smith. I play it with Drumpunk. I play it with my cousin, and I've probably started I don't know, 25 different times with multiple different factions. Right. And every time it's just like, it's fun. It's just plain fun. Before we got this one, you were interested in the series because of Warhammer, which is a lot more magic focused, I would say. And it is the first game to really have the hero focus, which is important in this because the heroes in romance mode are super strong, ridiculously powerful. But so when you were hesitant to jump in this one. I actually didn't think I wanted to do this. I wanted to shoot the shit about this game, but I was like, I don't think Smith's going to get it. But then I started playing it so much, and I was like, dude, this game, it's awesome. And he picked it up. And now we're having the problem where, we've got other stuff we need to do, and we just want to play this. So it's pretty much, I'm just going to go out and say it's my favorite strategy game since XCOM 2, be honest with you. And even then, XCOM 2 is kind of a way different game compared to it, so... Let's just give it.
There's nothing else like this right now.
No, there really isn't.
Just everything, and it's so crisp and well done. I haven't come across any serious issues, no bugs, no issues with the AI commands and that kind of stuff. It just works. It looks great. It plays great. Just everything about it's really good.
Everything about it is really good. But is there anything about it so far that you don't like? What is the one thing about it, if even a minor thing you don't like? What do you dislike the most?
I think just on the battles I've seen, the power of trebuchets under the player's control.
Oh yeah, they're
just way too much. The AI can't handle it. Once you've got a decent amount of trebuchets up, you're going to win 90% of your battles without a problem. Other than that, the complexity is probably something I'm having the issue with the most, but it's not really a negative point because it rewards you for learning those complexities. The deeper you dive into it, the better you get. So when you restart again for the 47th time, you get a bit further before you realize, oh shit, I could do this next time.
Yeah.
So even the negatives aren't really negatives, but I would say, the combat itself could do with a bit more balancing and a bit more advancing the AI, but that's nitpicking the best.
It is worth saying that you play, since you are new to it, there's no shame in this. You play on hard, which is 2 steps below what I play as legendary. But when we play together, like this is what's showing on there right now is my campaign with Smith. And generally in legendary, in the bottom right there, there's a mini map. You don't see that. So I don't know if because you're playing on hard and I'm playing on legendary that like the battles are kind of switching it up, because I shouldn't be able to see that map. So that I'm not entirely sure about. But it is worth saying that on legendary, they do put up a little bit more of a fight. They will spread out, things of that nature. But artillery has been my thing forever. I used to be able to do you could zoom in on your catapults and you could actually manually aim them. You can't do it in this game, or if you can, I haven't figured out how. But I would never do it with trebuchets anyways, because they're too hard to aim. But I've always used them, so I'm very good when it comes to positioning with them. But even then, my cousin's not so good. And yeah, you need trebuchets in this game. Like, if you don't have them, your army's going to get stuffed somewhere. It's just how it is. The big thing that I'm having a problem with, and I haven't seen you deal with this to the extent I have, but you have dealt with it, is the double movement on the campaign map. When you initiate double movement on the campaign map, you can initiate a fight, but you can move. It's not double, it's like 1.5. So you can move a little bit further. You can initiate a fight. If you do get caught and you're put in a fight, your troops are winded, so they won't move as fast and they'll break quicker. And you just move further. The biggest thing I'm dealing with, and this has been a problem, I honestly don't remember the last time this wasn't a problem. I think since Rome 2 is when I really remember it happening, because I put like 200 hours into that one. The AI will come into your land with double movement and they'll just sit there. Like, you'll go to attack them, they'll retreat, and then that's it, because you can't go into double movement and catch them because you can't initiate a battle. So you just have to sit there and see where they're going to go next. Last night, Smith and I were playing. I had a farm and a city. They just kept going in between until I finally built an army somewhere else. No, what I finally ended up doing is I said, fine, take the farm. So that way you're stuck and I can kill you. He took the farm and I killed him. It's very bad in this game because sometimes the AI isn't entirely sure what to do against you. It's very, I don't want to say it's subtle, but when you're playing against the AI in co-op, it does seem like every step they make eventually is moving towards you, like the entirety of the world, unless you are in like some coalition or alliance with someone. As soon as they have 3 armies, it's like they declare war and they're marching on you. And that's kind of what the AI is doing. They're wasting your time, so you can't build up, and they're really good at it. And it annoys me very bad, because an enemy army being in your land reduces public order. And while I don't like the double movement thing of the enemy generals and all of that business, the public order in this game is way better. You haven't really run into much of an issue with this. You do have some public order issues due to your population growing too quick and stuff like that, but if the public order gets too bad, a rebel army will spawn, like 3 generals deep with a full army, like anywhere in the territory that's suffering, and that's it. Like, if you're not ready, they'll attack you next turn and siege your city and take you out. That used to be a bigger problem in the old games. I really like it in this game because it's a lot more low key, but that's just what the AI is doing. They can't beat you on the field. They know that. Even on Legendary, if they don't have a big enough army, they won't bother. So what the enemy will do is bring in a smaller army and just move around your territory, I guess effectively doing guerrilla warfare. They can't raid anymore, but they're depleting your public order and of course wasting your time. And that's my biggest issue with it. Oh man, it is annoying because you can't catch them. They really need to do something about that. Like, the thing is, if they're already winded, they've already used their double movement and all that business, and I attack them, like, I'm not letting them run away. They're already winded. They're already slowed down. It's not like I'm just going to be like, oh yeah, go on through. I'm going to hunt them down. I'd prefer to play it on the map, quite frankly, and see if I can catch them. But it's a big issue, in my opinion, but not something you have to suffer through a lot in the late game. It's mostly just early game stuff. And Smith and I, together, I think we've only really made it to the mid game, because how many games have we had now? 3, 4?
5 or 6,
something like that. Yeah,
it's been a lot. Yeah.
That's because it's like every time he learns something, like even with me explaining things to him, he learns something new every time he plays, like the further we go. And I'm in that situation as well. Like, me and my cousin are on turn 150 something in one of our campaigns, and it's like, man, they do that. Like we're still learning stuff, even deeper into the game. So the one thing about this strategy game is it is the Three Kingdoms, which is basically Dynasty Warriors. So you got, your Guan Yu, your Zhao Yu, and Liu Bei, Cao Cao, Sun Jian, all of them. All these guys in Dynasty Warriors that like are effectively taking out 1,000 troops per battle. And you can do it in this one as romance mode where the heroes are insane, or you could do, I don't know, it must be classic mode. I've never done it and probably never will. But romance mode with the heroes, that's where it's at. So how did you feel about the hero situation in this game? Because it is kind of, well, it's actually kind of funny because we played Conan Unconquered.
Yeah.
Before we started, well, I had played it, but before Smith started playing this, he was playing Conan Unconquered, a similar game where you have a hero and you build up an army around them. Similar, only in that extent. Everything else about it is very basic. But how do you feel about the heroes in this game? It is a kind of a weird thing in strategy games to have these super strong units. But how did you feel about them?
This isn't strange to me. Battle
Really?
for Middle Earth, one of my favorite strategy games of all time, and that had heroes in it you could make your own.
Oh yeah, I love that game.
That was way, you could summon giant asteroids and stuff. So that was pretty crazy. Sitting down with this originally, I don't like the Yellow Turban setting kind of stuff. I really struggle with the names, keeping a face to the names. When you say this guy's doing this, I'm like, who the fuck is that? But I don't know. I would never usually pick this up just based on the setting, but I love the setting. It's great, and seeing the relationships between these characters and that build on the battlefield and off the battlefield, as these hero units in your army that are. You can have someone with you for 50, 60 turns. He's a driving force, and then he gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's a whole story and a saga around that guy's existence, and he's gone, and you've got to learn to survive without him, kind of stuff. The hero system is fantastic. I don't think they're overpowered. Obviously, they're very powerful compared to normal units, but they can be felled quite easily if you don't use them right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the hero system is other than the sort of overworld map, the hero system is probably my favorite feature in the game. It's really done well.
Yeah, I agree. It is awesome. And yes, the names, like I said, I say Dynasty Warriors, so I know all these names because that's one of my guilty pleasures. But yes, it's like Zhang Fei, Guan Yu, Liu Bei. Those are the three guys just in one faction. And right there, you're already thinking, like, if you don't know who they are, you're thinking, what are these names?
And I know Guan Yu because of Smite, and
right.
That's literally it. I don't know any of the others.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's in the game, I think you can be about 15 factions total, but you might only be able to play 15 factions, but there's gotta be at least 60 different factions all scattered out. Some of them are really small and easy to take over. Some of them build up big. It just depends really on what you do and what the AI does, because that's the other thing about starting over so much is you can play the same combo, and the next time you play, something completely different could happen. Some no-namer could just rise up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden he's a total powerhouse, and you got to deal with him. That's I personally like that kind of stuff, because if it doesn't happen like that, you can kind of predict, like, okay, well, this guy's gonna attack me, so I can set up my ambush here and yada yada yada, and then it's just it kind of takes away from the game if you do it that way. But I do like the randomness of it. I don't like the randomness of the AI. Just it seems to happen all at once. Everything's going good. Everything's fine with you and the AI diplomacy-wise, which I didn't even mention that. There is diplomacy as well. You can do peace agreements if you're at war, non-aggression pacts, trade pacts. Diplomacy is actually a very big part of this game if you want it to be, because you can trade with others for more money per turn, but you can also trade them items directly for cash on that turn, or food, or a payment per month, things like that. It's a huge thing, and it's actually a time sink later in the game if you want to waste a bunch of time on that. But the one thing is, when one guy declares war on you, buckle up. Next turn someone else is coming, and more than likely on the third turn another guy's coming. I very rarely have war with just one person at a time. So you play on hard, and I don't recall, has it been that bad for you? I know that you do get into some trouble with certain people, but that's generally where you start, and those are guys that are meant to be your enemy for the most part, I feel like. So
but I think that's what you were saying about the variety in the way it plays. I started off as that one guy right in the northern tip.
Yeah, Gong Su San.
3 different occasions, right? And this guy is basically cornered in by water on one side, cliffs to the north, with one guy behind him and then the world in front of him. And every time I played, I had two different guys trying to conquer me from all over the place. So I've not had the sort of the triple front header with it all, but I've had the Liu Ye guy next to me. I think that's his name, Liu Ye.
Liu, yeah.
Yeah, Lulu QQ is what I ended up calling him because he just kept whinging.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was attacking me, and then the guy from the north attacked me. The next time, the guy from the north was my ally, and then a guy in a boat attacked me. So it's
yeah,
it changes every time. It's a mess, but it's a good mess.
One of our very, very early campaigns, I was like, "Don't worry, bro. The Han, they don't attack anybody ever, dude. You're good. Just go. You can leave it. I've never seen them attack. This was like 70 hours in. I'd never seen the Han attack." And that's
my first game.
Yeah.
20 minutes in.
Yeah. Never seen the Han attack. And he's on, I think at this point you were on normal, right? So even then it was like, I was like, you're safe. Don't worry. Fucking Tash IC comes up in a boat, takes the port. I have not even seen Tash IC before. The Han have never attacked me or my cousin in these like fucking 60 hours that we've played. And of course, Smith, his great luck, gets attacked by Tash IC. Now, every game I play, if I leave something open, I swear to God, Tash IC pops up. I've seen him south of the river as Sun Jian, which is literally the opposite side of the world. So the AI has always got some cheese and strats that they're trying to pull off. And in that instance, it was Tash IC. Let's talk a little bit about the actual combat itself, because that's what we're mostly showing here. Because the thing is about when you're playing co-op, it is, you know, I'll take a turn, then Smith will take a turn, then I'm basically doing nothing. And if you're not allied, you don't have vision on your friends if you're not allied, or at least have a non-aggression pact. So that's why there's not a lot of map footage in this, is because it's a lot of sitting around waiting for your partners to do whatever they're doing. However, the battles, I generally like fighting the battles on the map. And the thing about, you were talking about how the AI just cannot compete, as you can see right here. They cannot compete with my trebuchets. They simply can't. Especially when I have fire shots. They haven't been able to for, gosh, I don't even know. This is actually my cousin's army. I'm controlling his units, which is something worth bringing up. You can give units to other players during battles and have them play as well, so they're not just stuck there watching, which is fantastic. That should be in any strategy game that has you watching battles. You can also auto-resolve battles. Basically, if you think it's not worth your time, your army's just so big, because there is one of the problems is the load times. It's not bad because Smith and I have good enough PCs that we load right about the same time, so it's not a big issue there. But when my cousin plays, he's rocking like a Hewitt Packer Best Buy, I don't even know, you know what I mean? Like he's probably got an onboard graphics card, and I'll sit there outside of either when we're loading into a battle or outside of a battle, just like sitting there for the bar to load and just staring at nothing, at a blank forest basically, for probably about a good 30 seconds. So you know, the second player kind of got to deal with that. But about the battles, so as I said, you can give your ally, if you're playing multiplayer, units, which is what happened in this situation. Generally, I will give my catapults, or I will keep my catapults, but I'll give my cavalry away, because the cavalry are probably, next to the catapults, the biggest game changer when it comes to playing on the map. They're very, very decisive. They are quick, and they can get to the archers, and if you mess up their archers, that's pretty much it. You're going to win, because the melee in this game, outside of the heroes, they literally just stand there and just kind of poke each other. I feel like it's not really detailed, so you just want a big meat wall. And we kind of spoke about heroes earlier, and one of the big things in this one is that you can duel one-on-one. How many have you lost a duel, Smith?
Yeah, my main guy got
That's right.
For
Yeah.
no reason. Decimated him. My whole army fell apart. It was tragic.
Gosh, I don't even remember who you were fighting, but Smith was Gungsu San. And the heroes have different colors. So basically, the green guys are meant to fight other heroes, but that doesn't mean the other, like the yellows or not the yellows, the reds and the purples, and on occasion the yellow. It doesn't mean they can't duel. They can duel. They're just not as good at killing heroes. So you get into these one-on-one situations while the rest of the army is fighting. It's really up to you. You can have the duel go on while both of the armies wait, and then you can, you know, once the duel's decided, you can send the army in and attack the enemies and all that business. If you flee from a duel, your men see this, and their morale gets bad for about a minute or so, or a couple minutes. They see the enemy or your general fleeing, and the men don't like that. It is better that they retreat than they die, though. If they die, the men are like, oh crap, like this is not good, and the morale generally doesn't recover in that instance. For the most part, I've had some very, very close duels, but for the most part, you can win it if you play smart and you use the heroes correctly. A guy like Gung Su San, who Smith had, his ability is actually to reduce morale. So his problem is he doesn't have an attack skill. So his duel would have, it's harder. He has to win on auto attacks alone, which is, good luck on that. But what I like about that is, like I said, you can also have the other battle going on, like complete, and all of the troops will they just go around the duel. They do not go through the duel. They don't interfere with it. You can have them interfere with the duel, but you are a fucking scumbag if you do that. So I've never had the AI do it to me. Now that I've said it, it's probably going to happen the next time we play, but I've never had them do it. I've had them run, but I've not had them interfere. And what I like is like the troops, if they're, instead of running right through, they will like wrap all the way around, and you can just see on
it's
the
a giant fight circle, isn't it? They're
it's
sitting
great.
there doing their flips and spinning kicks and shit. It's awesome.
It's kind of like a mini action movie going on. Of course, after X amount of hours, you know all the animations and all of that business. But it's like if you zoom into the battles on this, the models are good, especially the heroes that have like names and stuff like that. This game looks good. I'm very impressed with how it looks. Especially I have a little bit of footage later where we're zoomed up on battles, and you can see like the units fighting each other, and yeah, it looks awesome. A couple of minor issues, like when they're zoomed up, there is no blood, and I hate this. This is something that you're going to experience very quickly. Every other Total War game is just like this. They don't have any blood. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, they release a $2.99 pack called the Blood and Gore Pack, where you can buy it and have blood and gore. So, yeah.
Usually I'd outrage at that, but to be honest, I'll just give them my money. I have more than got my money's worth out of the game already, and I'm not even close to done with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of a penny pincher, it's blood and gore. It's a bit of a shit thing to do, but yeah, I'll buy it. Fuck it.
Well, the other thing about all the Total War games is that they always have a ton of DLC for factions. Like I said, there's about 15 factions you can start with. Look at these arrows raining on me. See, this is the AI raining arrows. Like, this was a battle I was most likely, if I auto-resolved, I would have most likely lost. But again, like Smith said earlier, and as you can see, actually, this is me and my cousin's campaign, because in the bottom right, there is no minimap. So I can't see what's going on without zooming out and looking at all of that business. Again, this is a battle I was probably supposed to lose, but the AI does stupid stuff. Like Smith said, they don't move out of the trebuchet fire. So basically, if you let them auto-resolve, the AI does the same thing to you that it would, the same thing for you that it would do to you. And basically, it just lines them up and pushes them into each other. So whoever has the superior numbers will win an auto-resolve. I would say you can go up about 3 notches. Like if it's a close defeat, you can win that. Decisive defeats it's sketchy. You can win them, but they're very, very difficult. But that's something else you got to kind of worry about if you're playing on Legendary, is they don't like you to auto-resolve through the game, because you can steamroll if you can just auto-resolve everybody. And you can see here, we're about to finish this dude. That does actually remind me of another thing I wanted to talk about, because we've had this discussion a couple of times now. I like, if I could fight every battle on the map, I probably would, just because it's a lot more experience and I know how to use my cavalry and all that business. But we're going to move out of the battle just for a moment and talk about what happens after the battle. And that is, your troops, you're going to lose troops. You might only be a couple of troops, but I've not got out of a battle, regardless of how close or how one-sided it was, like a stray arrow, something will hit at least one of my guys and I'll lose them. After the battle, you choose to either release their troops, which will get you money, take their supplies, which gives you military supplies, or use them to replenish your own forces. If you lose one guy, it's not worth it, but we're going to talk about like after a major battle where a lot of your units are depleted and replenishment becomes a thing. Because in previous Total War games, I didn't play Thrones of Britannia, I should say, and I think this is where it was introduced. You have to replenish your troops. You cannot just buy a new army and they come out like, let's say, for instance, you have 120 spear guys. That's the number that we play on with large, and you lose 60 of them. All right, that's 50. You gotta replenish those guys. You can't just get rid of them and immediately you get that 120 spear unit all fresh. They're not as leveled up, but you got more units. That's not how it works in this game. What you have to do is replenish them, and this is something that Smith, you've had an issue with, because it can take a very long time. You were talking about it yesterday? I can't remember. Yours was pretty bad though. Do you remember?
6 turns.
Yeah, 6 turns for replenishment, which is.
But this is from someone that, you know, I know there's stuff that influences replenishment. That's just a mechanic I'm still working on. So that may be sort of as severe as it gets, but it's still pretty bad.
Yeah, it's probably not as severe as it gets. It depends on your food and what's going on, things of that nature. Your trade routes, even though the weather will affect it. You lose more supplies in the winter, which makes sense, but that's only if you're in enemy territory. So when that happens, you have to replenish your troops. If you stay in the town long enough, you will eventually get the mustering thing, which is the thing that you get when you completely recruit new units, which gives them a pretty big buff to bringing in units. But it takes a long time. I'd say it takes on average about, to fill a full army up, if you don't have, well, even there's an assignment that will increase your mustering as well. With the mustering and the high replenishment, it still takes you about a year to get a full army mustered up. And a year is 5 turns. You go through the seasons of fall, winter, spring, harvest season, which is basically when all your food comes in. So if you lose your food stuff, then that's trouble. And then it goes to summer, and then it resets. So effectively, a year is 5 turns on the overmap, and that's about what it will take to replenish an army without mustering. With mustering, yeah, a little bit less, but still it'll take a long time. Now, replenishment is kind of like annoying, but it's not as bad because the AI suffers from this as well. And while I'm always talking about them being annoying in your territory, if they stay in your territory enough, they don't have a way to get supplies, and once it gets to winter, they start losing troops from attrition because of just what's going on. They can't get supplies, which is great. Unless, and this is what I'm saying, the AI is always scheming against you. Cao, in our match, Cao was doing my land. He was just in my land, running around being annoying. And what he did was he formed a coalition with the guy to the north of him, so he could go into that guy's land, replenish his supplies, and then come back into my land. And you could just do that the entire game. And this is what I'm talking about when I say the AI is pulling some sketchy shit. Like, there's no reason to do this, because if I catch his army, Cao's done. That's his leader. He'll get to come back, but his army's going to be stuffed, and Zihao Dun, his cousin, is also going to be completely eliminated. So the AI in this game is literally just wasting my time. Smith has had a little bit of that situation where Liu Biao does this. Or no, it's not Liu Yu. The guy that's next to you as Gung Suzan, he does this. He'll come up to the north, and then when you try to meet him in the north, he wraps all the way back around and goes to the south. So you're basically doing a merry-go-round with him. That is still, like I said earlier, my biggest issue with the game. You can try and set ambushes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And if you can catch them, that's wonderful. So outside of all that, outside of what we've been talking about, is there anything it doesn't even necessarily have to be big, anything that we haven't mentioned here that you want to bring up?
I just want to touch on the multiplayer aspect of the combat and stuff. You touched on it briefly there.
Okay, sure. Let's do it.
I think they've done it really well. The fights are usually 10 to 20 minutes on length, depending on the difficulty and whether you're attacking fortified locations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And as you said, you can share troops, but obviously Johnny wasn't sharing with me originally because it would just be suicide. But watching the fights, it's not. At no point do I alt tab and watch something else, or do I feel bored, or anything at all. You're engrossed in the entire time because the characters that you're fighting are people that are pushing my borders, or they're allied with the guys that are screwing me over. So it's sort of, I would usually step away from this kind of co-op just because of the time-consuming aspect of it. Because you sit down to play for 25 minutes and 4 hours have passed.
25 minutes is like one turn tops. Like,
right.
It's, like I said, it is like when I compare it to Risk, I do mean time-wise as well. Risk, like, I wouldn't even thought about it if you didn't bring it up. Like, you played it recently with your friends, but Risk is a long game. And Total War Three Kingdoms, equally a long game. So yes, it is time consuming, and it was like you said, it's great that you can share troops together. It is a kind of annoying because the way the old ones used to work is you could, when you entered a game, you could immediately be co-op. You could be allies and all that business. So that was great. So you could see what even if you were on the other side of the world, you could see what your ally was doing. You know what I mean? But now it's like when I attack something and we're not allied, it just brings you to a somewhere on the map. You don't even know where it's at. It just zooms you in over there, and you can't see anything that's going on. You can ally and then basically both say that, hey, we're gonna claim emperorship of the land together, so you're working together, and there can be no betrayals or anything like that. So that's how you co-op like that. But if you don't, then you can actually like attack each other, which I don't know why you'd want to, because if you want to talk about a long match, that sounds like a long match to me. Fighting some other guy, that sounds like it's going to take forever. Not to mention there's so much cheesy stuff that you can do with the AI. I don't really think it's... I think it's a great co-op game. I don't think it would be a good competitive game, at least on the map. Maybe just strictly battles where you pick your units. I think it would be a decent competitive game then. But when you got all the stuff going on the map with all the diplomacy going on with like allies and coalitions and vassals, you can force AI to attack other players if they are your vassals, and it's just, I think that's too much. Co-op wise though, yeah, fantastic game. See, right there, I lost a duel. That was Sun Jian. That was stupid of me. I should not have kept him in battle. I did. He died. So
that sequence was fantastic. You clashing in the forest as the troops coming around you, all the birds getting kicked up and stuff. Like a strategy game has no right having that level of detail that closely zoomed in. That looked really good.
Actually, that was my mistake. That was Smith losing Sun Jian. I forgot. That is not me. So this is the last footage that I recorded before.
I think he killed my wife after that too.
Yeah, lady. That's another thing. When a certain general that they are friends with, they lose them, they will go berserk, and you can't control them anymore, and they'll just go off and start attacking people. So losing one general can cascade into you losing two generals, or potentially three, because they just charge in and do silly stuff. And
then they come and attack his city and they kill your firstborn, and your whole family tree's been decimated by this one idiot that wouldn't take food for a trade deal.
Lady Wu just got defeated. Yeah, I didn't even realize. Yeah, he did kill your wife. You're right. So now
he came and attacked my city and killed my firstborn after that. I didn't want to relive this moment, so thanks for that.
That was this was an intense battle. So as far as strategy games are concerned, we're both in agreement that this one is insanely fun. If you were going to play it single player, it can be fun in the campaign, especially if you're fresh to the series. I don't know. Would you play it single player?
I've dived into a little bit, and it is fun, but everything is more fun if you're playing with a mate. Doesn't matter what the game is, it's always more fun. So it's not a negative aspect of the game that the single player is not as fun, because just by the form of co-op, it's more fun with a friend. That's why they do co-op. I do enjoy it single player, but it doesn't have the jazz that the multiplayer does. Not even close, but it's still a solid strategy game.
Yeah, I agree. I'm so ingrained at this point of playing this game co-op with just my cousin, like this series co-op with my cousin, that I have a hard time going back to single player anymore, but I will sometimes. If you have a buddy that is playing this game and you're on the fence, it is a fantastic multiplayer game. You don't have to fight each other. Like I said, you can just be friends and have a good time with each other. I think like when I started with Smith, I think I was around 60 or 80 hours, something like that. I'm currently at, as I looked earlier, about 150, and I think Smith got it last week. So it has been my life outside of whatever my other obligations have been. This game is all I've been doing. So be warned that if you pick it up, other things might be going out the window. It is value for money. There's so much to do here, certainly, and you can expect some more DLC. All right, so before we wrap this up, anything else you want to touch on? Anything like that?
No, I think you said it perfectly. If you're on the fence, dive in and pick it up. It's worth every penny.
Absolutely. And if you were like Smith and you were more interested in the Warhammer one, this one is still a good one to pick up, because there's a lot less units in this one to control than there is in Warhammer, and the Warhammer ones are still $60. They have not gone down in price. So Total War 3 Kingdoms, I would go ahead, we didn't review it, but if we did, it would be editor's choice for me. Absolutely. This game is worth it. When Game of the Year contenders come around, this one is going to be up in there for sure, considering how bad the year has been, especially, and considering how empty May was and how empty June kind of is as well. If you've got nothing else going on and a decent PC, if you like strategy games, I really don't see a reason not to at least pick this up and try it. I mean, within 2 hours, you're going to know if you're going to be so overwhelmed you won't enjoy it or not. So just, you can refund it after that. So, I don't know. Pick it up if you like it. I liked it. Smith liked it. All that business. All right, let's wrap this up. So, if you liked what you saw, got what you needed, you know how it goes. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys in the next video. Later, Gators.